when you're talking offensive player of the year, you got, 4 or 5 top candidates. In my mind, everybody's playing for second in this award. But because to me, there's one guy who stands above them all. But let's hear who you believe could be the top players just as the offensive player of the year for the entire short conferences.
Well, the way you were smiling, I think you're talking about Micah Ford of Tom Driven North. Yeah, I mean, is he a one-man wrecking crew? He really is. He's having a great year. The junior running for over 2,200, almost 2,300 yards, over 40-something touchdowns. He's just a presence. And Dave Osowitz didn't use him like 30 times a game, every game. So his stats were against when he needed to do it.
Think about it. He's put up those numbers. How many games did he even play in the fourth quarter?
No.
Like they probably they remind you back in the no Sean Moreno era for Middletown South. You wonder, gosh, how many touchdowns and yards could he have had if they weren't up by 5 touchdowns every time before the fourth quarter?
Big games equals big status. He had 291 yards in 3 quarters. He didn't run the ball at all in the fourth quarter.
In the first group semifinal ever, he's putting up numbers like that. And in the round before that against Marlboro, he had a huge game. I mean, every time they've called upon him to have a huge game, he has just gone wild. 200-plus yards rushing, throwing for touchdowns. And I know this is the offensive player of the year, but he's also had multiple interceptions on defense that have set up his own scores on the other end.
He's a baller.
I think he's a strong candidate for the state offensive player of the year.
He is. And then Connor Dietz, the junior quarterback at Brick Memorial, who almost got 2,000 yards passing and rushing, and he had 3,900 yards and change. He's done everything. His fingerprints are on every touchdown. He's either running it or he's throwing it. He's RPOing it. He does a great job. Again, those 2 guys are both back. They're underclassmen. Connor had a great season on offense. He was a one-man wrecking crew.
Just like the guy. Not to mention, he's a junior and he already holds numerous Brick Memorial school records for career and single-season stuff. I think next year the hope is they're playing in bigger games with higher stakes. I don't think team-wise they achieved what they wanted to this year. Mm-hmm. So they're, that skews the numbers a little bit because he wasn't getting all of them in big, or some of the big games he played great and they just lost because they didn't stop anybody.
Yeah, he's real smooth.
Yeah,
real smooth player. Definitely a guy that deserves all that. And then Tyler Douglas in that division too was a one-man wrecking crew. The play that he made against Red Bank where he pushed the kid out of bounds and outran the whole team to win the game with the last 40 seconds. He's a dude. When Tyler Douglas walks on the field, he's a Division I player. He looks that part.
Well, and he made some throws. I saw them against Middletown North. I mean, he made a throw down the sideline, from the opposite hash that I was like, that's a throw you see in a major college football game on a Saturday, maybe even on a Sunday. So he impressed me a lot. It was a real shame that he didn't get a chance to play because of injury in the first round of the state playoffs. So he didn't get the spotlight that maybe like some of these other guys got because their teams were in the postseason. But he was – if there was a short conference MVP, certainly Ford you'd have to put there because he's been amazing. But the rest of that team is really, really good. Whereas I think if you took Tyler Douglas off Ocean, they would have really struggled. I mean,
did you see them? Did you see them in the state playoffs? He didn't play next game. Yeah,
right. And it was lopsided. So he to me did everything. And you're right. He was as advertised. He's committed to Temple. You're right. He's the only FBS quarterback from this senior class in the short conference. And he looked every bit of the part of it. I thought, obviously he's an impressive passer, but I thought running wise, he was really impressive too. He
was. And then the top running back statistically, because I had to say running back because this is the year the quarterback's running the football, but the top running back was Kieran Falzone, the senior at Raritan. And so he's got to be in the mix too. Great. I mean, he gets the ball 30, 35, as much as even almost 40 times a game. In that state playoff championship game, South Jersey 2, he had 39 carries, 300 yards. Everybody knew he was getting the football. He had the ball 95% of the time, and they still couldn't stop him. I mean, that's offensive player of the year, type of status right there with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're really going to miss him graduation-wise. I mean, he's just such a massive part of their offense. And again, he came to play in all their big games. And those are the guys that I'm always impressed by. You know, during their playoff run, he was putting up 150, 180 every game, and then 300 against a Rumson team that's now playing to win all of Group 2 and is traditionally a good run defense. He really hurt them a lot in that game. And he also does it on special teams. He's had kickoff return for touchdowns. He's a workhorse. So you're right. When you're talking, like, you're right in the sense that, to me, some of the best runners this year play quarterback. But when you're talking about pure tailback guys, he's right up there, along with one other guy I think you're going to mention.
Sabino Portella. I know he doesn't fit the categories of certain things. When you talk MVP, it's like him. He does it all. I mean, he's the glue to the team. But when it's big games, he gets the football, and he's putting up good numbers. I mean, he looks great. When you tell players you should wrestle and play football, a lot of these football players go, I don't like to wrestle. Why do you want to wrestle? Because the way Sabino Portella plays, his balance and his power, and he is faster than you think he is. He's an all-around good football player, and he was the best player on the field against Holy Spirit in a very impressive game.
Yeah, I mean, 190 yards. And it's like you said, a lot of games they're well ahead pretty early. They don't need him to run the ball a ton and do great things every single game. But when it's a close game, you know, whether it was the Donovan Catholic game or it's the Holy Spirit playoff game, then they're giving him the ball 15, 20, 25 times, which tells you the confidence they have in him. And then basically, like, if we're going to go down, we're going down swinging with this guy leading the way. So I think that shows you and you're right. Some of the runs he's had where you think he's tackled and he's like parallel to the ground and stays on balance is incredible. There's a reason he's going to North Carolina to be a wrestler, because you're right. His body control is amazing.
He recovers so well. Like, running to the sidelines, you think he's running out of bounds. He still balances himself, and then he's hitting you with the blow of the play. He's a good football player. A lot of good offensive players out there, but we had to narrow it down to 5, which I don't think anybody's going to argue with those guys.